guys, I'm back with another review, and today's review is on I've got a cheat skill in another world, and I'm unrivaled in the real world too. And so, yeah, this is the review of that anime. First of all, I need to call back on one of my previous uh, um reviews on the aristocrat in another world, and just like what I said, episode 12 showed exactly what I said. Looks like they're gonna make another season. You saw in the preview the last episode of episode 12, and you what they're trying to do, set up a second season for when he becomes a Viscount kind of thing. So yeah, I knew we were gonna get a second season, so that kind of showed to me there. But look, they really want to push for a second season of this anime. Anyway, if you want to see my review, should I go to my previous review? However, today I'm about reviewing I got a cheat skill from another world, and I'm unrivaled in the real world too. So what do I say about this anime? This anime is a really good anime. It's a good anime. It's a splash of water, if you will. When you go into it, it's one of those animes where it's like unexpectedly good, right? From I'm all by that it's not necessarily that it looks bad, but it's just something that it catches your eyes for good reason. I don't know why I've said stuff that didn't make sense at all. Now I think about it, but it's very much an anime where it takes all of its elements from a slice of life to action to fantasy to thing and blends it really well together. It finds a way to mesh all of its elements together of slice of life, you know, tragic backstory, fantasy, action, and meshes it together really well, which that's why it's a splash of water, right? You wouldn't expect for something which has so many different aspects to it to be able to mesh together really well, but it just does. It it takes all of these aspects and just meshes it and said, look, even though these things shouldn't go together, slice of life, fantasy, action, with a tragic backstory, with all of this stuff. They shouldn't just mix really well. And they in this anime they got it well, right? And one thing that really picked up my eye was the use of 3D animation, or the use of 3D animation in this anime. It has points where it has 3D animation made into kind of 3D aesthetic or 3D effect on it, kind of like where it makes it look 3D. And for me, it was a very good use of it, very good use. In past animes I've watched, like X Arms, I believe it is, and I've read it. I really hated that kind of 3D, kind of plasticky kind of aesthetic. I really disliked it because one, they tried to force that kind of 3D aesthetic through to the fight scenes just don't look right in other anime like X Arms, like Arifureta. The 3D aesthetic just doesn't fit, it just doesn't suit, and they've tried to kind of force it through like, oh yes, this is the 3D kind of thing. This is going to fit. No. I'm not really like the 3D, and so I've always been against that kind of 3D-ish aspect to a kind of 3D plasticky kind of action figure kind of animation style, and I never really liked it since the day they tried to implement it. But in this anime, they've implemented it, but very subtly. They don't force it. It doesn't feel like they forced the 3D animation into it, which is what I feel like it's good. If you're going to try and introduce a new animation style, right? You can't just force it in. You have to add it in subtly until you're able to make it into a way where it's not just blocky, but it's not just into a way that it can seamlessly mesh into. And so for that, I feel like they did really well, right? You know, however, again, as cons, that it's not a necessary anime full of necessary. It didn't really, for me, the one con is that his backstory wasn't really fleshed out properly, wasn't fully fleshed out. Like there was so much potential with the backstory, with which I would love to hear more in if there is a season two. I would love to hear more of it, but again, again, if it was fleshed out, I would love to hear it if it's fleshed out in season 2. But for in this season, they didn't really truly flesh out his backstory. They kind of said, oh, he got beaten, abused, right, by his parents, ignored by his parents, kind of thing. His brother and sister both kind of tormented him when he was younger, but haven't really fleshed it out. Especially with his relations with they really more flesh out his relation to his grandparent out, and I would love to see a bit more fleshing out to that kind of relationship between his grandparent, his father, his mother, his thing. In the introduction to the father, to the mother. I would love to see that in the next season of this anime. That's what one thing I would say they need to do in the second season. If there was no second season, then I feel like that would be a con for this first season. So yeah, this would be dependent on that. So you know, Over's good solid anime. It's good solid anime for this season because for this season's anime that's come out this season, a very good solid anime, very good solid anime. You wouldn't be wasting your time watching it. I don't think it's a very good anime to watch. It does, get you attracted to characters, but and all the love interests, even though there's multiple in this one, all the love interests are actually quite good. All the love interests are good. It's not necessarily just like one. There's obviously that kind of one specific love interest in it, obviously, but there's not really one that you're like, okay, cool. If he got with this one, you wouldn't be saddened by it if Yuya Tanjiro is the name of the main character. If he go with any of the love interests, then you wouldn't be sad about it. But you. So yeah, it's a very solid anime. I wouldn't say it's necessarily something blockbusting, but again, for the 3D kind of aesthetic which is being tried to introduced into anime, it's a very good showing for 3D anime for the future of 3D kind of blocky 3D aesthetic anime kind of thing. Or because they implemented it very subtly. They've implemented it. You could tell they've implemented it in some scenes. You could tell where they have implemented it, and they because it's so subtle and because it's not necessarily always pushed into your face, it kind of works for it. So it works to help it. So I will give it a good 7.8. A 7 point no, not a 7.6. I feel disingenuous to give it 7.5 because it's not 7.5, it's a 7.6, I'll say. 7.6 is my final review. 7.8 will be too close to 8 because it wasn't an 8. Because it wasn't, again, nothing blockbusting. It was good, just a good, decent anime, but it wasn't just decent. It was above 6. And so you could place it in 7. But again, I would like to be generous here with it because of what it did with that 3D. 7.6, what brings it down from not being an 8 is because it didn't really flesh out that kind of relationship between the parents and between him, which is what I would love to see for it to become an 8, for it to become, higher. But anyway, thank you for watching. That was my review on I Got an Cheese Girl from an Isekai World. And yeah. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and peace.